Here's a question for you. Would you ever think of taking a handicapped parking spot from someone who really needs it? Well, no matter how you answer that question, here's something you should know. It's happening all over the place. News 4 investigated, and we're doing what we can to stop it. And John Dutzman's here to tell us what he's found out.
I'll tell you, one of the answers to this is pretty simple, whether you're from Canada or the United States. It comes down to this. If you have one of those handicap permits, it better belong to you. Now, a lot of police don't know they have a powerful tool to nab people. If you're using grandma's or grandpa's or mommy's permit and they're not with you, you could be in big trouble. And thanks to us, a lot of people found out the hard way.
Push at me, and I'll arrest you.
This French Canadian was not too happy. The Hollywood police officer is charging him with illegally using a handicap permit. He says the permit belongs to his wife, but his wife was not in the car and was nowhere to be found.
It's a misdemeanor in the state of Florida for him to misuse this.
The permit was confiscated. He was fined for illegally parking in a handicapped spot. And he's lucky. Under Florida's new laws, he could have been arrested, tossed in jail, and his car could have been towed.
You have a court date appearance today.
What you're seeing here is the direct result of our News 4 problem solver investigation. The city of Hollywood is now cracking down. They are planning to ask people, including Canadians, for identification to make sure their handicap permit is being used properly. This man is okay.
It's worked out very well together. You bringing this to the forefront has enabled us to set some new policies up.
When it comes to Canadians, the city has the same concerns we do, that an alarming number of cars from Quebec have handicap permits. And when we started nosing around, we found many people were illegally using someone else's permit. For example, this man was using his wife's permit, and his wife was not with him.
You don't like the jail idea, right?
No.
But swiping handicapped parking spots is not just a Canadian thing.
Do you see any handicapped people here waiting to get in?
This man does not have a handicap permit, but he's taking up a handicapped spot so he can load sacks of cement into his van.
Handicap. You know what handicap is?
Oh, we know what handicapped is.
Say hello. Hi.
Little Annalise, who breathes through a hole in her throat, is handicapped. She struggles to walk with foot splints and a back brace. Her mom needs to park in a handicapped space, outside the very store where this man parked.
Pete's sake. Shame on you guys.
How do you feel about people who just flat out scam these spots?
I don't think that they're very nice people, just inconsiderate of other people, selfish.
Why don't you call the cops?
Oh, the cops were here just an hour ago. The cops in News 4 nabbed a lot of people.
It's mine. Leave me alone.
All these people were charged for illegally using handicap permits. In most cases, they were using a permit belonging to a family member who is not with them.
Why were you using your mom's permit, man?
Because I just did. I don't know why.
You don't know why?
Yes, I ran in for a couple minutes and was crowded. That's why.
But that's not good enough, especially here in Davie, where officers Robert LaBelle and Barry Dodge
Sir, I need to see a driver's license registration for the vehicle, sir.
are among the first cops in South Florida who care enough to enforce the new handicap parking laws.
Driver's license, please.
And in Hialeah,
I am arresting you. I'm also giving you a ticket for unlawful use of a handicap taglet. I could have handcuffed you. I'm giving you a ticket in addition to that for illegal parking in a handicapped space. And I'm also confiscating the handicap taglet.
this is Officer Sandra St. Germain. Just standing in one spot in a couple of hours, she snagged a bunch of people. And the stories some of them tell.
You're telling me this is his?
First, this woman says the permit belongs to her son who had an operation.
Doctor gave him a permit?
Yes.
Then she says it belongs to a relative.
But who are they in relation to you?
They're part of the family.
What part of your family are
A cousin.
Man, why did you tell us that that was your son's permit?
they? Do you know?
Huh? Do you know that there are disabled people that need those parking spots? That can...
Yes, I know.
Well, what do you think? Why did you park in that spot?
Please go away.
What?
Go away.
As Officer St. Germain does the paperwork, a truly handicapped person passes by. And right after the French Canadian was caught in Hollywood, this van from Quebec pulls in,
and a man who really deserves the spot gets out. And back in Davie, but is it your permit or not? The cops clear out the spots filled with scammers and leave room for little girls like this.
Find something useful to do, will you?
Have a nice day, sir.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, have a nice day. Now, if police really want to crack down, like these cops did in our story, they could clean up a huge chunk of the problem. But what happens if the paperwork all checks out? You've probably seen a lot of healthy-looking people who have these handicap permits. Well, that has to be attacked at the doctor's office, and that's what we'll do tomorrow night at 11 o'clock on the Handicap Hustle.
Well, you know, it just amazes me how nasty these people are who are breaking the law. They're angry and vicious.
At me?
Yeah.
How dare us?
Exactly. You did a good job.
Thank you.
We'll be watching tomorrow, too.
Okay.
Okay. You might have seen it. Someone pulls into a handicapped parking spot, gets out, and walks for miles. Sometimes they even run. Now, you have to ask yourself, how can this be? Well, News 4's John Dutzman has been investigating, and John, how can it be?
Well, I tell you what, either they're using somebody else's permit and they can get arrested for that, or
Right.
something else is going on here. Now, part of the problem begins at the doctor's office. Doctors have to sign off on these permits, and in many cases, they don't know exactly what they're signing. People are not supposed to get a permit just because they are old or just because they are sick. They're only supposed to get one if they have a real hard time walking.
Why did you park in that spot then?
Go away.
What?
Go away.
All these people got caught on camera using handicapped parking permits illegally. But is it your permit or not? Caught by us,
I am arresting you.
caught by the cops. But what about cases like this? We call this the Handicap Hustle. Why? This woman is dancing on Hollywood Beach, but she parked in a handicapped spot with a valid handicap permit. The paperwork is all legal. Police can do nothing about this because a doctor felt she deserved the permit. Cap with the blue shorts. At least at one time he did. News 4 went to work and tracked down the doctor who okayed the permit.
She dancing?
Yeah, she was in a 1-hour dance class.
With no back shoes? She should be falling.
Dr. Norman Moskowitz is a respected local orthopedic surgeon, an expert in helping people with disabilities.
She does not need a parking sticker. Not now, seeing that.
So how did this happen? After seeing our tape, the doctor realized he made a mistake. He gave the woman a permanent long-term permit, one that's good until November of '99. Now, according to the doctor, originally, when this woman hurt herself, injuries to her back and leg did severely affect her ability to walk, but just temporarily. As you can see, she got better long before the permit expires.
Oh my God, she's jumping into, fine, I have to reevaluate her. But when she hurt herself, she came from an emergency room with crutches and a brace.
News 4 solved the problem with this one doctor. He says he'll stop issuing long-term permanent permits to patients who have temporary problems walking.
As far as I know, I gave her a permit and she was supposed to go back to Canada.
This woman happens to be French-Canadian. Our News 4 investigation found an alarming number of French Canadians using handicap permits to park at Hollywood Beach. Permits issued by both doctors here and doctors from Quebec.
It amazes me that people want to claim themselves to be handicapped or disabled so they can park conveniently.
This woman is from the local Paralyzed Veterans Association. She helped write the handicap parking laws in Florida.
The problem is that people think that if you have a medical condition, you're disabled or handicapped.
And you're not.
And you're not.
That's right, they're not. So doctors, listen up. If your patient has a temporary problem that causes a severe inability to walk, you can issue one of these temporary permits. They're good for up to a year. These blue permits are only for people who have a permanent problem, a problem that, once again, causes a severe inability to walk.
And there are plenty of people like this man who truly deserve a permit and a convenient parking spot.
You cursed at me, and I'll arrest you.
Our News 4 Problem Solver investigation now has cops and parking officers cracking down on Canadians and anyone who they find is illegally using a permit.
Why did you park in that spot then?
Go away.
What?
Go away.
But local police and News 4 are not going away until handicap parking abuse goes away.
You know it's wrong to do that, right?
I know. Is this guy still here? What is
Yep, I'm still here. And I'll stay here. Why? Because we can make a difference. We can open up parking spots for people who really need them. Already, we've helped Hollywood come up with a plan to attack the handicap hustlers, even Canadians. And to their credit, police in Davie are starting a special unit just to nab these people. We've been in contact with agencies in Quebec that hand out these permits and regulate doctors, and they are taking a close look at what we found out. And Angela, I should mention, get back to the doctors, that if I'm your doctor and I hand one of these permits to you just because you're my friend,
right,
I could go to jail for a year, and so could you, and that kind of puts a damper on the practice.
Right. And
so.
John is not going to go away. By the way, I want to follow up on the doctor and the lady doing the hustle. I want to see if he ever does chat with her and say, listen, buddy.
Yeah, you don't get a permit anymore for me.
Exactly. John, good job.
Okay.
Enjoyed the series. Thank you so much.